And here we go. What's up, YouTube world? Everybody out there listening to the podcast. My name is Prince. I got my main man Ash on. This is another week of the Embodied Mind podcast. I appreciate y'all joining us here on the live stream. We don't really have a topic for this week. We're just winging it. And actually, that's the way I prefer to do things. Two dudes talking about the stuff we like. How's your week been, Ash?
The week it was been good. It was just everything kind of caught up to me, and so let me see. I think Tuesday was my had to been Wednesday. Wednesday was my daughter's birthday, so we celebrated, and then on Thursday, I had a friend in town that I basically grew up with him, and I hadn't seen him in like 20 years. So it was like he joined me for my like regular martial arts class, and then like we went out for dinner afterwards, just like chat and catch up. And so of course we talked for a pretty long time. So then I ended up getting into bed like super late, and I had like kind of a green green papaya salad, and it kind of caught up to me like in the middle of the night. So I got like no sleep on Thursday, and I'm still so that's why we don't have a plan for today, because I wasn't able to get prepared like normal. The last 2 days I was just like in total zombie mode, just trying to like make it through the 2 days, so that uh tomorrow is my recovery day, so I'm gonna get some extra sleep, get caught up.
Nice.
But we do have plenty to talk about, so I'm sure that it'll be but I just not as prepared as usual for some of our topics. But uh do you have anything in particular that you wanted to lead off with?
Yeah, give me my fingers are stuttering. Give me a moment. Yeah, actually, you like this one. Um, I regrammed a post from Precision Nutrition this morning. It's called "The Benefits of Overindulgence." So it said, "Food for Thought Friday, food for thought for the day." New clients often come to us feeling guilty and weak after a vacation, a holiday season, or a long weekend of overeating. Our response often surprises them because it's not drink water or get more fiber or focus on clean eating. It's actually maybe you needed to overindulge. Hold the phone. What? You see, overindulgence has several important and vastly underrated roles to play in the bigger picture of health, fitness, and nutrition. And then they say press play to learn more about these roles. So if you're following me on Instagram, it's my most recent post as the time that we're recording this, or you can go to Precision Nutrition's Instagram account and find it too. Um, Actually, I guess I'll read it as it plays. Well, they have 4 reasons. You want me to read the 4 as they play?
Might as well go ahead.
So the benefits of overindulgence and the 4 things it can teach you. All right, so they lead in with what I just read about people feeling guilty about overindulging, and this is important because we're moving into the holidays here in North America. So the first reason is the road to success is not straight. Many people think the road to improvement is a steady incline, but it looks more like a kind of an up and down zigzag. Reason 2 is indulgence makes us ask questions, namely, what is it doing for us, and what kind of person are we when we're indulging? Reason 3, sometimes you need to fall off the wagon to get back on again. Bruce, how do we learn? Feeling unhealthy effects of indulging is a great motivator to get back on track. And then healthy indulgence can actually support deep health. So deep health is the overall health of your body, mind, and spirit. Celebrating life with some healthy indulgence every so often can be a good thing. All right. So it reminds me of a client that I had, and she was really getting after it in her workouts, making great progress. And then she went on a family trip to Ohio. And I remember she came back and she at the start of her workout, she was like, Prince, I'm really upset with myself while we were on vacation on our trip. She was like, because I remember she asked to borrow a kettlebell to take on her vacation. I was like, oh, okay. So she was like, I did workouts and everything, but one night we went out and we were out late and I went to Wendy's and I got a triple cheeseburger and a Frosty and French fry. Prince, it was so good, but I feel terrible. And I was like, why? Like, it was your family vacation. I wasn't even expecting you to keep up with your workouts. I just assumed, okay, we'll get back at it when when you get back. And my last words to her before she left with the kettlebell was, "Hey, enjoy your vacation. Like you've earned a break, right?" And all her family up there in Ohio were like, "Oh, you look great. You lost so much weight, and this and that." So she, you know, had a great time at Wendy's. And the thing is that having that break, and remembering, oh, this is what tasty food, if we want to call it food, tastes like. This is what it's like to enjoy what you're eating. But then you get back, you get back to your workouts. You're on vacation. You're on a break. You're, and some people say, no, you eat clean all the time. You do this and that all the time. You wouldn't go to Vegas and say what happens stays in Vegas and go do some crack. I mean, that's an extreme. Somebody might do that. They might fall off the wagon. I'm not pushing that. But, if you're vegan, if you're consider yourself vegan or keto or low carb or whatever, and the holidays roll around, you know, enjoy the festivities. Like one of my friends, or YouTube friend, one of the reasons she's not vegan anymore is because of this situation. Is she went and visited? She had a roommate, and they were I can't remember what country her family originated from, but she spent the holidays with her roommate's family, and it's one of those cultures that's really around food and um, offering things to strangers and hospitality. So if she walks in there, well, I'm vegan and I don't eat meat and I don't eat dairy, and they had like this dessert and it was full of, like dairy products, and they're like, "Oh, you got to try it, you got to try it." And in that moment, if she had like, she could have said, "No, I'm vegan and I'm sticking to my morals and I don't eat this because it involves the suffering of animals and that could have fed a baby cow." And you can play that role, or she could just say, "You know what? These people have invited me into their home. They're offering me food and shelter and a good time and safety and security. And their culture is, they extend hospitality to strangers. I'm going to participate in this ritual and enjoy myself and partake. And when I go home, when I go back to my home, I can follow whatever philosophy or goals I want to, right? And the whole thing is enjoy the moment." So, I feel like with my client, I say, enjoy the moment. Now you're training, focus on training. The next time you go on a vacation, you train so that you can enjoy the vacations, right? So, I don't know. I thought it was a great post from PN, especially heading into the holidays. They, some people they're gonna overindulge to the point that it is not healthy. But for most people, enjoy the holidays, man. Like, and then get back on the wagon, right? You fall off the wagon, don't stay down, don't stay in the mud, right? I think on the Oregon Trail, they used to kill you on that video game. You have died of
Well,
typhoid.
and I mean, the thing of it is that it's not necessarily like falling off the wagon either, because it's like, if all right, I'm going on vacation on the 10th, from the 10th to the 17th, and I'm going to, I don't know, if you want to look at it as indulge or whatever, and then get back to it, like when I get back to my regular, my regular routine, that's not falling off the wagon. That's like a planned, I mean, that's just as planned as anything else that you might do, with your diet. And then the other thing is that, like a lot of times people will do that and like they've been like if they've been dieting like real hard and then they go and they have like a week off or whatever, they go do like vacation and they kind of indulge a little bit or maybe even binge a little bit like for that period, like that week. And then they come back from vacation and they actually end up leaning out a little bit because, it's like just a combination of because so in the PN post that they were talking a little bit about the concept of deep health. So deep health involves, it's kind of a holistic concept. So it involves like how much stress you're carrying and like how nutrition, activity, like everything, like all the factors, like where they meet, as well as like the rest of your lifestyle. And so it's like just taking a break from your workouts, taking a break from uh your strict dieting and all that kind of stuff, and then it releases some mental like stress and tension, which has an effect on your hormones, and then it's like since you go more from like a sympathetic state like with a lot of cortisol, now moving into more of like a parasympathetic state, um, which ends up being good for your body composition, like you're more chill, and so then it's like your anabolic hormones go up a little bit and you're a little bit more insulin sensitive. So even though like maybe during that period you're like eating more calories and maybe not eating stuff that would be quote unquote ideal, like obviously you don't want to make a lifestyle out of, burgers and fries or whatever. But, it can have a beneficial effect, like in the short term, that it kind of like refreshes you, kind of helps you reset. And then, like I said, you come back and you're actually a bit leaner than when you went into it. And, a lot of bodybuilders have said the same thing, that it's like they end up being like the week after a show, they end up being like bigger, like leaner and stronger than they were like the week of the show, because it's like now they release all that tension around, around dieting, and it has like like I said, it ends up having a positive effect for them. So I think the thing of it is like for me, I would say as long as it has like a planned start and end date, then it's fine. You know what I'm saying? Because it's going to be like it's a temporary thing. It has its purpose. It fits into your life in a certain way. I mean, it's just like, I mean, it's like the holidays only come once a year. So, I mean, but I think the problem in now that like we need to talk about, kind of like the flip side of it is like, uh, it's like, what, this Wednesday is Halloween.
Mhm.
So the Halloween parties have already started. People are bringing like snacks to the office and treats and stuff like that already, and then it's like the problem is, I think if I remember correctly, they said that I think the average person gains like, if I remember, 2 pounds a year. And most of those are gained like during the holidays. So, basically you gain like 2 or 3 pounds like during the holidays. Maybe you drop like 1 pound in the New Year's, like rah, let's get in shape for the new year, like new year, new you.
Yeah.
And then, but basically 2 of those pounds ends up being permanent. And then like over a decade, you gain 20 pounds.
20 or 30. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, the thing of it is that it always comes back down to is like the individual, so it's like, you know, it's hard to just say like, oh, don't indulge during the holidays because, that's where all your weight's going to go. Well, it's like if you're the type of person that has been like working, throughout the year or like the last couple of months or whatever, you've made some progress, you've got your kind of your daily habits and your weekly habits kind of dialed in that are supporting, like your goals. Fine, take a little break during the holidays, enjoy. It's like if you haven't even gotten started on that, maybe you can look at it as like the holidays aren't the time to get started. Maybe you should wait until after, the new year because it's gonna. So this kind of like dovetails into in the precision nutrition coaching group for the students and grads. There was a post by Krista Scott Dixon, and she had shared um, one of the Rock's most recent Instagram posts.
Yeah.
I don't know if did you catch that one?
Somebody they might have shared it posted on
Oh
Instagram too.
no, I think maybe you caught it because I reshared it to my Facebook page.
Okay.
So maybe that's where you caught it. But um, he had a photo of himself just coming out of or he's at the gym or whatever, 260. Obviously he's jacked, he's super lean. But the key is in the post he says huge thanks to my wait a minute we're all right after 18 weeks. I was thinking that it said 18 months, but yeah, 18 weeks of disciplined diet and intense training. Blah 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 for his spin-off movie. Huge thanks to my strength and conditioning coach for his masterful strategies that is constantly shifting daily based on how I'm looking and feeling to achieve the goals. Thanks to everyone in my inner circle, in other words, my team, including the NASA scientists who support the big picture, my diet, training, health, and wellness, balance, consistency, and execution. Uh, so the issue, like the topic was about, like what it takes to achieve like that level of leanness and muscularity. What it takes to achieve like that level of performance. And so kind of the question was like, do you think that you have what it takes to be able to manage all of those things in the context of a regular person's life, which includes a lot of social interactions? And that's one of the things is that it's like so much of our social interactions, especially during the holidays, all revolve around food and eating and meals and celebrating and all that kind of stuff. So I think, and in this case, it was the context was like, you know, there's an infographic that they share like pretty regularly, which is called the real cost of getting lean, and it's kind of like as what uh like it was just as much as like what you have to like give up in the context of like a regular day-to-day life as it is what it's about of all the things that you have to do. So it's just as much about like what you have to not do as what you have to do, and not just like once or twice, but like on a long term like consistent basis. So I mean, even like going back to like this post, like with The Rock, of it was 18 weeks, and he had an entire team of people like backing him up. And he started from, he didn't start from zero. He didn't start from being like 250 and 33 or 40% body fat. He started from 18 weeks ago at, probably less than, I mean, probably like day to day now, he probably walks around at like less than 16% body fat, like on an average, like just walking around. So, and then for him, so he dropped, maybe like another 8 or 10% at the most body fat. I mean, probably looking at this picture, I'd say he's probably around 10% because I don't think he's possibly between 7 and 10% probably. And for sure, like he's got some chemical assistance, like on his side. So it's just kind of like, and that, that's neither good nor bad. It's just a matter of like people like setting like realistic expectations for like what they're going to be able to achieve in their given circumstance, like at that moment, what kind of support they have. And even if it's just like the support of your family to help you, so like let's say for instance in my case, um just to bring it back to like some real world reference, like I've worked pretty consistently over the last couple of years of getting my skill, it's kind of like a series of skills, but like one of those skills is about like preparation, which includes, like your shopping habits. So it's like getting, buying the right things, like when you go to get your groceries for the week, or not buying like the wrong kind of things. It's like if you keep ice cream in the house, chances are you're going to eat that ice cream at some point. But it's like this past week, like I said at the beginning, of the show, uh, it was kind of like a crazier week, and was unprepared for the show, and I didn't get a chance to do like all my regular meal prep like I normally would. So, but I had this, at least I had the supplies in the fridge. So I'm able to like text a message to like either my wife or my daughter, like, hey, can you cook up my chicken thighs in the oven for me? I mean, it's like, and they're home, so it's like the fact that, my wife is at home, she's not out at a job. So I have like that kind of support at home to be able to help me stay on track. So if I didn't have that, what do you think would have happened? At some point during the week, I probably would have said, screw it, I'm hungry. I don't have any food ready. I'm just going to go stop by and like get a burger somewhere or order a pizza or whatever. So like I said, it's just the fact that I have like that kind of support at home makes a big difference in long-term compliance. And so yeah, so like these are all the factors that you have to consider, like when you're setting, your goals. And then if you don't have the support that you need, then you got to figure out like, okay, where am I going to get that support from? So yeah, so I mean that was kind of like a long rant between the two of us, like from, it's like, it just kind of, like I said, it's all going to come back to like to the individual. Um, but yeah, I think we beat that horse to death and then some.
I was just kind of thinking about like a lot of times it comes down to information and access to information. I guess one of the rewarding things that I can think about, where I am with the state is it's one of the rare times where I'm not around other people who are like all about health and wellness or martial arts, because that's usually like those. It seems like those are kind of people that I attract in just my personal space. But you don't have any control. I think that's one reason why I want to get away from there is that's saying that you become the sum total of the 5 people that you're around the most.
Right.
Because there's a conversation that was going on last night, and like Saturday nights, they call it Snack Saturday. So no one brought any snacks. So my team was like, oh, let's all go in and order pizza. So one lady was like, well, I can't have a lot of sugar. I don't know if she's diabetic or pre-diabetic, because honestly, I don't pay a lot of attention to what they're talking about. And just for my own sanity at this point. Hashtag sorry, not sorry, if any of them are listening to this. They probably won't. But so she says, well, let's get a thin crust pizza, because that's what I normally eat when I try to go low carb. Like when I'm really being low carb, I'll go to CC's and get the thin crust pizza and then take all the toppings off. And I'm sitting here like at my desk, like I'm gonna pretend that I can't hear any of this. Like
Right.
if you're supposed to be going low carb and you're trying to eat very healthy, why are you going to CC's anyway?
Right.
Like, do they have CC's out there?
No.
It's like this all you can eat pizza buffet. I was starting to say it was like Mr. Getty's, but you probably didn't have Mr. Getty's out there. I think Mr. Getty's might only be a Nashville thing or like Middle Tennessee thing. But basically, CC's took Mr. Getty's idea that you go in and pay like $5 and eat all the pizza and like dessert pizzas and everything you want. So it's a pizza buffet, right? And I'm sitting here like, okay, but if you're low carb and then and you've got, I think, some health issues, and she's got like the hello bye bye 20-inch pythons, or it's like 20 inches of skinny fat. Why are you eating that stuff? Like, you might as well just eat the whole pizza anyway, because at least you're getting some calories, you get some fats and stuff from the cheese. But now you're just, oh, I'm super low carb, so I'm gonna only eat the carbs and the grease and the tomato sauce. Like, what? And I'll like listen to stuff that they're talking about, and I'm like, where are they getting this stuff from? Like, who is? Because it's like, I know they're not just making it up, because they'll like feel very confident in things that they're saying, and I'm like, somebody is putting this information out there. Where? And it's like around here, like a lot of the parents and stuff have issues with things being taught in school, and they're like, well, if you don't teach them in home, they're going to learn it from somewhere else. And I'm like, well, when it comes to this nutrition and health stuff, it's like, if the people who know, the health professionals, if we don't tell them, they're going to get it from somewhere else. And but I'm like, where are they getting this? Is it in magazines, or who is telling people this nonsense? Like,
yeah. Well, I think we've talked about that a little bit before. It's like making sure that making sure that you have like the right information like before you get started. And then I think it's a lot of making sure, like, from now like a coaching point of view, is like when you're telling somebody. That's why, it's like going back to like talking about like precision nutrition again. It's like they don't focus on like meal plans and giving clients meal plans and stuff like that, because it's like, it's like you wouldn't give somebody like a workout, like put together like a workout program with a beginner. Like, you don't give them an advanced program and then just tell them to go in the gym and go do it. You have to like build on a series of skills, and it's like sometimes even that, that clients don't actually understand like what is a carbohydrate, what is protein, what is fat. So you got to like kind of take the time to, educate people on the basics like that. Like you can't make any assumptions that that they know what you know or even part of what you know. And I think like a lot of it is just that it's become so complicated now because we have so many options available now that didn't exist before even a decade ago or 2 decades ago. So, yeah, I mean, that's just the world we live in now, I guess.
Yeah. I can't wait till I get paid on Wednesday. I'm gonna do a powerlifting workout next weekend, and then I'm gonna go to CC's and I'm gonna take all the I'm gonna take all the toppings off the pizza and eat low carb thin crust pizza
Right.
with no toppings on.
It's eat just the crust, but it's okay because
Just
it's
the
thin crust.
Yep. Low carb in it, baby. Yep.
Well, yeah, like I said, sometimes we can't blame people that aren't in the health and fitness space for making those kind of uh, mistakes, because like I said, especially that, I mean, we've talked about this before too, like many times where it's like, it's like the news is responsible for, a lot of that mess because, they take like a research paper here and there or whatever, and then they,
Blow it out of proportion.
yeah, sensationalize the headlines and blow the whole thing out of proportion and kind of like give out half information and or like half correct, half incorrect information, and then it's like that's pretty soon. Like I said, the Atkins diet turns into like all bacon and cheese all the time, which it never was and never was supposed to be. Um, but yeah, and then um, there was another thing. I don't know if you caught this on Twitter, but this one is like kind of a downer because we don't have a solution to it. But there was a new study that was released in Plus One, and it's anthropogenic contamination of tap water, beer, and sea salt. I don't know if you caught that,
I haven't seen that.
but they took samples, 159 samples of globally sourced tap water, 12 brands of different Great Lakes beer, 12 different brands of commercial sea salt. And of all the tap water samples analyzed, 81% were found to contain anthropogenic particles, which is plastic. It's plastic particles. The majority of these particles were fibers between 0.1 to 5 millimeters in length. Let me see. Where's after adjusting? Blah blah blah. They found I think like 100% of the beers were contaminated with these plastic microparticles, and so were uh, the commercial sea salts. And so I don't know part of the reason why this is so concerning is because I think we probably talked about this before in the past, but that I mean, plastic basically acts as a xenoestrogen. So it mimics estrogen in your body, which isn't always necessarily a bad thing. Especially if you're like a postmenopausal woman and like getting some phytoestrogens, um, in your diet is potentially beneficial. But I think we've talked before about like the declining levels of testosterone and sperm levels in men in the 20th century or 21st century. So I think actually it's like half of what it was 100 years ago. And so like this kind of plastic contamination, like, is almost universally 81% of the tap waters sampled, and one of the reasons why I said like this one's kind of a downer is because there's not really anything to do about it, at least as a individual, unless you can afford like a really super high end water filtration system in the home, because the particle sizes are too small for like most like average size or for most average water filtration systems to be able to filter out. And so I think this is one of those things where it's like everyone needs to do their part to try and eliminate like how much plastic they use and bring into the home. And which is hard, man, because I mean it's like everything comes packaged in plastic. So unless you can get to the point of where it's like I buy nothing like ever, or minimum. So I keep wanting to try and like challenge myself to um do, I can't remember what they call it now, but where they try to buy nothing new for a year, or like even a month. Like if you have to buy something, try to buy it like used, like recycled or whatever. And or if you can, like try to buy nothing at all new, so that you like don't contribute anything to like packaging and manufacturing, anything like that carbon footprint for a year. And for me it's like really hard, because at least right now, because I'm still kind of like in a way like recovering from moving like back and forth across the country like twice, where it's like I got rid of like almost all of my stuff to move from Arizona to New York. And then I got probably I had like a 6 by 4 by 8 foot like pod that I moved like all of my stuff in that. And then when I had to come back from New York to here, all the stuff that I brought with me that I had kept, I left like at my brother's place in his garage in New York, where it's still sitting right now. Um, so like I like little by little, I've been like trying to replace stuff. I mean, it was kind of like I had a house fire almost. It was like I lost pretty much like all of my stuff. And so like I little by little like still been recovering, like get one little thing here, one little thing there, like little bits. I had to like refurnish, everything, because I had no furniture. I didn't own any more furniture. And so it's been hard to, it's like I don't feel like, okay, well, I'm not like prepared to be able to not buy anything for a year. Um, or, the flip side of it is that, like a lot of the stuff that we're into is like a niche market.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like you can't just like you can't buy that stuff used.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm the only one in a 50-mile radius that has any interest in this, that, or the other thing sometimes. So yeah, I mean it's definitely a challenge, but I guess it's one that we need to start taken more seriously, because especially like water, like for me, especially because I've lived in the desert for like the last 20 years or so, it's like I'm very I don't want to use the word passionate because it's overused, but for lack of a better word, I mean I'm very very mindful about water,
Mm-hmm.
and how much water I use, and trying to save water, and trying to protect, the water that is available, like fresh water sources around the world and whatnot. Especially because, so I don't know if it's just because I tend to think like from the top down, which isn't necessarily like good or bad. It's just the way, because some of the problems sometimes is that like I think too like top level and I miss like the detail oriented stuff that needs to get taken care of at the bottom of the pyramid to make the top level stuff happen. But I tend to think like more like in a systems oriented kind of way. And so I was like for a while, like I was kind of interested in like the emergency preparedness and wilderness survival kind of skill sets. And so I learned the basics of like what I needed to learn to make that happen. But then it's like it didn't take long for me to start to think um, like long term. Like, okay, like this kind of stuff is great, like short term, but then like what about like long term? And so then I started getting into like permaculture, which is like a mishmash of it's a phrase that is meant to mean like permanent agriculture, like permanently sustainable agriculture, because the agriculture that we are practicing right now is a lot more like farming than it is like, or it's a lot more like mining than it is farming. It depletes the soil and it destroys topsoil like every year, every season. And so I started following guys like Jeff Lawton and Bill Mollison and like all the permaculture guys. And that concept of like how like permaculture thinks about things as an integrated system. So it's like, animals have a place in the system, trees have a place in the system, yada, yada, yada. Like everything has a certain role to fill, like in as part of or within its own niche. And so that has really affected my way of thinking about like health and fitness and training and everything as well. You start to think about things more and more like as an integrated system rather than separate components or whatever. And so no matter what, like how you want to look at it, if you're looking at it from permaculture, it's like water is critical. Like you can't do anything without water. You can't grow anything without water. And water is like just as critical to our life, on a day-to-day basis. So this one is very concerning to me. And like I said, it's distressing because like I said, there's nothing you can do about it. It's the plastic pollution is everywhere, and right now there's no way commercially to be able to filter it out. So I don't know. What do you have to say about that?
It makes me think about the research I was doing back in high school, looking at plasticides and heavy metals that were in the water, and like how it would disrupt hormones. We looked a lot of like how chemicals in the water affected cortisol, the body's ability to secrete the hormone that like basically shuts off cortisol. So if it sounds like it's becoming an even bigger problem now, which is I guess alarming as far as how it'll disrupt our hormones and whatnot moving forward. If you work for Pfizer, and no offense to my friend who actually is a chemist who works at Pfizer, because she believes that she's doing good work, but the people in the boardroom who aren't the actual scientists probably very happy because we can make more drugs to sell more people and make more money.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess we just had to do our part in improving the body's way to filter that waste out whatever ways we can through uh, other things we can control.
Right. Well, I mean, and it's like some people are going to be more susceptible to this than not, depending on like what kind of genetic polymorphisms you carry, or even like chromosomally. So there was kind of interesting. It was like a long Twitter rant that got published by a research scientist who was doing research basically on the same topic. It was dioxins, which dioxins it comes from, they're like toxins that are produced by plastic, usually when plastic gets melted or burned, um, if I remember correctly. And so he was doing this research on rats, and he couldn't figure out why the dioxins would pretty reliably basically gender swap some of the rats. Like some of the females would start to show male traits, some of the males would start to show female traits, some were non-responders. And so then it came out that you had to, because like usually we think of like X and Y, chromosomally, like for male and female, either you have XY or you're XX. It's like XX usually is male, but then you can have like an XXY, which is like a female that has they'll be like kind of usually female, but they'll be kind of like with male characteristics. And so let me see, there's no, I'm sorry. So it's, yeah, usually XY would be male, but XX is female. But there's XY, people that have XY that have functioning ovaries, and XX chromosome carriers who have male bodies and functional sperm. And let me see, where else were we? Yeah, they have XXY, XYY, one single Y, XXX with translocation, XY with deletion, and hormonal insensitivity, like androgen insensitivity or estradiol failure, and different. So then you'll respond differently to disruptors like the dioxins. So it's going to be one of those things, again, like what we were saying about at the beginning of, there's going to be like some general rules that apply, but it's like everyone, not everyone's going to be as susceptible to, I mean, so maybe this is just like the next stage of natural selection, right? It's like some people are going to be genetically well adapted to be able to just like motor through the conditions of the 21st century, without harm. They're going to be like lean and strong and perform, and regardless of what kind of diet they eat. And the rest of us are going to get like chewed up in the compost tumbler. I don't know.
Hey, be a lot of trans people running around. That's going to be
Right.
like the norm.
Probably, yeah. We're going to start. I mean, right now it's like, chromosomally, I think there's only like about 2% of people are the chromosomal outliers. So the other 98% of the population fits pretty neatly in the XXXY buckets. But we might start to see, more and more shift towards those numbers like changing a little bit as we are dealing more with this. So it's like, I don't know, who knows? We'll see. Like, if we see like globally, I mean, because I know like in the West, it seems like like fertility levels are dropping. We know that a lot of that has to do again with on the male side because his testosterone levels are going down and sperm motility is going down and sperm counts are going down. But we'll have to see like what happens now in the next like 15 or 20 years, like in the developing countries. Because I was looking at this like real quick, it was saying that some of the samples were from let me see, like Lebanon, Delhi, India, Uganda, uh, Jakarta. So different places in what? Indonesia, yeah, Lebanon, France, England, Ecuador, Cuba. So I mean, they were from all over. So there's like basically like nowhere is safe from plastic pollution.
Hmm.
So we'll start to see. I think the thing about with the sea salt, let me see. Sea salt samples are processed using methods similar, blah blah blah, measured and dissolved. It doesn't just tell like what the rate of contamination was in the sea salt, but it could potentially be like a reason to stick to like the Himalayan stuff because it's that's mined on the Tibetan plateau, so that in theory should be free of plastic particles. So it's like a way to like at least help reduce some of your exposure. The thing of it is that, and we've been talking about this more lately in my house, is that, um, that pink Himalayan stuff, it doesn't have any iodine in it. And it's like, unless you're eating like a lot of sea vegetables, I mean, like, again, there's going to be like different genetic susceptibilities to like iodine deficiency. But I mean, iodine is an important uh, micronutrient. And if you're not eating like a lot of sea vegetables, you're not going to be getting, sardines do have, I think it was like 35 micrograms per serving off the top of my head. I can't remember what the RDA is for iodine. Let me look real quick. It says 400 micrograms. So you'd have to eat like 10 servings of sardines a day to hit. Uh, oh no, 150 micrograms per day. So you'd have to eat 5 servings of sardines a day to get your and who's gonna eat 5 servings? I mean,
I ain't eating no servings.
actually I like eating sardines, but I'm not 5 servings a day to hit my iodine requirement.
I can't eat
So
them at all. My so there was a story that my mom almost named me Travis, and my grandma wouldn't let her because she said there was a guy in high school named Travis, and he used to eat sardines all day at school. So for some reason, it's like my grandma has like turned me against sardines. I've never eaten them. There's actually a can of sardines in the cupboard. It's probably been in there for 10 years. I'm never going to eat them. I might feed them to the cats if I haven't already. If they're not in there, it's because I fed them to the cats. So yeah, I just can't touch them. I look at them and I just remember my grandma's face. Travis used to eat sardines all day at school and nobody liked him. So that's why my name is Prince and not Travis. Because of fucking sardines.
Cut of sardines. Well, at least you got a story behind it.
Yeah.
So I finally got around to watching the Black Panther movie.
Yeah.
Because it just came out on Netflix.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a decent movie as far as like, it was a decent Marvel movie, but the thing that, for me that sat weird was their like depiction of like a culture that simultaneously embraced space age technology and like tribal lifestyle. in a way, it was kind of like, because I've been into like the whole paleo scene for like a while. So it's like, in a certain kind of way, it's like kind of like the paleo wet dream, right? Like advanced technology when you want it, but it doesn't interfere with, and you're still living that kind of tribal, primitive, ancestral lifestyle. But I don't think that it would work the way that it was depicted uh, in the Black Panther movie. I don't know. For me, it was weird. Like I said, I think for me it is more like like when I see like Jeff Lawton like doing some of his stuff, where it's like um, where it's like the 90% of the structure is like all natural as the trees, blah blah blah, providing the microclimate, and you just use like uh, a solar powered pump for irrigation, and like a solar powered electric fence to keep like the chickens contained or something like that, where it's like really like unobtrusive compared to that kind of like in your face. I don't know. It kind of reminded me sort of like some of the old Star Trek: The Next Generation episodes or something. I don't know, but I don't know. Like I said, was who knows like what the perfect balance would be.
Yeah, I don't know. I just looked at it as they were closed off to the rest of the world, so Wakanda had to be like fully self-sustainable. So it's like, well, are we gonna become like this completely space age tech city? Are we gonna have, are we gonna have this blend of tech and nature? Because they got to be fully self-sustainable. They're closed off to the rest of the world, and as far as anybody else knows, Wakanda's just a bunch of I think sheep farmers or something. That's what they said. So, it's like, well, we've got this, but we got to give this illusion that we're this other thing. And if we're going to give that illusion, we might as well actually have it too, just in case somebody happens to pierce the veil, but we don't let them get too far deep into what's really going on.
Right.
So I thought, as far as like fantasy setting, they pulled it off okay.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it wasn't a bad.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a bad movie by any means.
It if I didn't do like my full review video on it, I don't know why, because I read an article that my friend wrote about Black Panther, and that's like my most viewed video of the year so far. But as far as Marvel movies, I felt like it was like a combination. It's like they took Thor, and there was one other movie. I think the Winter Soldier. I felt like they took those two movies and kind of what those two movies were going for, and kind of meshed them together, which I thought was interesting. But I mean, when I sat through it, I didn't want to say, I almost feel like I'm watching Thor with more, like the first Thor movie with more action, because it wasn't done by Kenneth Branagh, Shakespearean stage actor, director, which I like Kenneth Branagh, and I like the first Thor, but the first two Thor movies were like not good, and I love Thor. He's my favorite, which is why I almost jizzed my pants in Infinity War when Thor comes through with Stormbreaker, and the Bifrost comes down and is just spinning around and he's killing everybody. And man, I'm getting hyped up now. Matter of fact, going back to the holiday thing we were talking about at the beginning, if everybody would just worship Thor, they would have no problems during the holidays. Because look, this whole Christmas thing that we do in the West, hey man, the Vikings, they did it right. It was all about celebrating Thor and Odin and the Yuletide, and they trained like warriors. And then when the holidays came, they had orgies. That's all. Hey, because look, if you know that the what is it, 12 days of Christmas or whatever, that it's gonna be 12 days of orgies. You got to spend the rest of the year getting right, getting that body right, getting in shape, you know, because you want to be the first pick. You don't want anybody sloppy seconds. that bring a whole new meaning to overindulgence. But look, hey man, just think like Thor, man. Like, I'm gonna train to be an Asgardian the whole year, and then I'm gonna overindulge on the holidays, but safely and with consent.
Sounds like an STD waiting to happen.
That's why I said safely and with consent. Unless, you know, maybe we got some listeners out there in San Diego and they're like, I think I'm gonna spend the holidays at Thad's.
On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me syphilis.
You know about Thad's?
No, I don't.
Only reason I know about Thad's is because this guy that was in my shop on the ship, whenever there was like a new sailor, and before he like had when he didn't know a lot of people, he would like take them to Thad's. He's like, man, I'm gonna show you a good time. So Thad's is like this swingers club on El Cajon in San Diego. And yeah, so that's why I said somebody in San Diego's be like, I think I'll take Prince up on that idea. I'm gonna work out every day in 2019, and then when the holidays roll around, I'm just gonna spend all my off days from work at Thad's.
I'm gonna reward myself.
Reward yourself. You know, that's Melissa's hashtag. That's one of her hashtags. Reward yourself.
Melissa who?
Missy Mariposa.
No.
You know, the Star Wars escort girl that I interviewed.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Reward yourself. I hadn't talked to her in a while.
Well, I think you know what to do for Christmas then.
Yeah. Save my money to go see somebody in Canada.
Right.
That's what I need to do.
Your trip to Saskatoon.
That's what I need to do. Y'all can reward yourselves. A matter of fact, I got since she's not watching the podcast, I got some brownie points. She's like dying to get her hands on these books.
What are those?
I have no idea, but when she was in Thailand at the Qigong workshop, she was like, kept talking about these books, and she was like, oh, they don't ship them to Canada. I wish you could get them for me. And then she forgot all about them. And so I'm not good at keeping a secret. And so I was like, yeah, I got a package for you. I was like, you're going to love it. And she was like, what did you, I said, it was something you wanted me to get you. And I know you forgot. So I have no idea what you're talking about. So I was like, I don't know. I guess I got my feelings hurt then. And then I like, finally, I know I tagged her in a post on the author's Instagram page. And then she remembered, she's like, oh my God, you got the books. And I was like, yeah. I was getting my feelings hurt because you couldn't remember that you asked me to get them. So yeah.
Now you got some points though. Yeah.
Points for that. Man, it's like, it's cool when somebody that likes to read. I got her The Power of Internal Martial Arts and Chi. And then Opening the Energy Gates. And I got those. And then
those are both BK Francis books, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I read them a long time ago. And then probably for a birthday, I'm gonna get Yin, that Monk Yun wrote. He basically wrote this book. If you ever like want to do some pleasure reading, it's like Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu has his pet turtle that like helps him write the Tao Te Ching. And then it like gets into some, like, it sounds goofy, but after I read it, I was like, this would make an awesome movie. Not like an animated Disney, like a real movie. Like it's good. It sounds kind of stupid the way I said. Oh, Lao Tzu and his pet turtle write the Tao Te Ching, and then like some other stuff happens, and it's like, man, this is cool. So yeah.
And
So it's called Yin.
Yin.
Yep, by Monk Yun Ro.
Yeah, I got a couple of. I got actually like a laundry list of books in the queue, but I've been having a hard time getting through them. So I've been trying to finish that book, Smart Moves, that we were talking about. What really sparked my interest in it was about like the use of like pressing the tongue against the palate, and it activates the reticular activating system. So I wanted to learn more about that and see like if it, like how much practical carryover that it would have to like martial arts, to meditation.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been having a hard time getting through it, and partially because it's kind of like it's a college. I mean, it's actually like a PhD course, like condensed down to, like a short book. So it's like I would read like a little bit, and then I'd be like, wait a minute, I need to go research that more so that I understand like that part of the nervous system more, or that it's like I understand the limbic system more. And so it was like really slowing me down, like trying to get through the book. And then some of it also too is I think just the effect on from having access to like the smartphone all the time. So I think I decided that I'm going to start doing like once a week. I'm going to start doing like a digital fast, and I'm where I'm going to go like three days a week, and just like leave my phone at home and go without the phone for 3 days, and then like during those days focus on just like reading like an actual old school book. And if I come across anything, I'm just going to take notes by hand the old fashioned way, and try to see like what effect that has on my mind and my attention. It's like one of the things that we were talking about in training this morning was just kind of the like the different like layers of consciousness, whereas like even if like at the surface level, like your mind or whatever feels, it's like you don't have like a lot of necessarily like obvious mental activity going on, but it's like there's still like that layer underneath where it's just like a constant static or buzz or whatever, because it's just like your mind is like constantly like keyed up to, which is, I think part of like where I'm at right now is like my mind is like constantly like turned on, because I'm been just like studying, for like the last 2 years, trying to go like, as deeply as I can, and understanding like health and fitness and how all these different facets like interrelate with each other. And there's always more to learn. It's like especially since like we're organic, so it's like there's just almost unlimited like interactions that are taking place. And so yeah, so now I think I'm at a point where it's like, okay, I need to like unplug and kind of create some space, in my life, like day to day, where it's just like, okay, it's like more like quiet time, I guess, for lack of a better. I need more quiet time. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at right now. But speaking of quiet time, I think that's probably a good place to pull the plug on this week's episode.
Yeah. Time to close it out. I'm gonna go do some studying.
All right, sounds good. So, as always, if you guys want to follow us on social media, check the video description below for links, or check out the show notes. my coaching program is about to go on pre-sale in the next couple of days. Keep an eye out for that. Prince, how about some of your programs?
I'm still working on things. I think I said last week that the whole Steve Rogers, Captain America inspired thing, I want to have that. I want to have that something on that in November. I need another week at the job that I'm on, and then I can start to focus on things. So next, if we broadcast next week, I'm gonna be in a different state of mind with a big burden off my shoulders so that I can focus on moving forward with my fitness business.
Right.
So that'll be fun. And YouTube and this podcast. So yeah, that'll be fun. Looking forward to it.
All right. Perfect. Sounds good. All right. So as always, everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next week.